Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, we've been through the lion's share of topics. You'll see all that in the grab bag here as we go here throughout the week, doing throughout the bye week, whatever you want to call it. We always have fun listening to the questions from the Duval Divers. Please keep sending them. Even when we're not calling for them, we may call on you on the show. We've done that before. But the big topic at hand here we want to open up. Well, let's just put it this way. If I make these comments, I might catch hands, so to speak. Brian Thomas Jr. is a hot topic. Why are you dissing me on my dad joke? Brian Thomas Jr. has been the hot topic. If it's not been Trevor Lawrence, Travis Hunter, or anything else here that we've been talking about throughout the year. We'll get to all of those as we go. But the question being, how can the Jaguars get Brian Thomas Jr. to return to his 2024 production from Waifu here? I think that is a Discord comment.
Discord. Yeah? That is Waifu.
I'm going to say something that will not be popular amongst the Duuuval devout, but I'm going to get it out of the way quickly.
Okay.
The way you get BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., back into 2024 production, I think we've started to head there. But let me tell you what I mean, right? He opened the first, 3-4 weeks, dropping a butt ton of balls. I don't think there's any way we can get around that. Then what was it that Liam Coen did? What was it throughout the practice leading into the 49er game? Just whenever a play was over, a random ball would be thrown. It was caught just to kind of get his brain back. I think that's an element of it. Sure enough, opens the 49er game with a difficult catch, in my opinion, and really does pretty well since then. Made a crucial catch with the Chiefs. Yes, he had a drop ball against the Rams on a third down. Or is that the Seahawks? I forget which. Punchline being, it's not like he's become drop free, but I personally think at least mentally he's heading back in the right direction. And I know there's a whole lot of other what have yous and conversation about him playing through injuries and things like that. But I think he's closer than people are making him out to be. It was just such a traumatizing thing to see the first part of the season play out the way that it did. What do you think, Travis?
I mean, I think mentally, if you're talking about, I think he's absolutely there. I think he's shown us those few big games where it's like, all right, cool. No. He's back. Like he had an 8-catch game where he still had I slipped out of my break and I only put one hand out. And then you have the one bad drop on the third down. I get it. But overall, if you look at that game, like if had the Jaguars actually been able to walk away with a victory in that game, you'd feel positive about Brian Thomas Jr.'s performance.
That's a good point. I like that.
Right. So it just came down to the fact that we're stacking it on top of everything else that had happened beforehand. I get it. But overall, I think reasonably speaking, he was actually back as far as the mentals are concerned. Whether or not he can continue stacking that on other performances is another conversation to be had. Obviously, he didn't have the greatest game against the Rams. I mean, 3 catches, 31 yards on 7 targets. That's probably not going to get it done, especially with 2 drops. And the one weird play where he slowed down, where it ends up being an overthrow, but instead of just continuing to run, don't really know what to think about that one. But nevertheless, it's going to be some up and downs within the offense. But overall, I think as far as recently, it was more up than down.
I'll agree with that. That's kind of what I was getting at, right? So, and I know that, the hope is, I mean, there are all the other conversations of, he had most of the throws from Mac Jones last year, in training camp, it was about him getting reacquainted with Trevor. How do you crowbar him in with Etienne and all that? Just his mental state has been a real conversation. I think the other, element, for lack of a better word, that I want to kind of introduce to with BTJ is his introduction to how he's getting used in this offense. Let me add this too. This is more what I want to ask you about, Travis. If we've seen him kind of make those business decisions and avoid contact, right?
Okay.
If he's Is it just a business decision, or because if he's injured, is he more likely to be timid in those situations? I think that's another conversation too.
Well, if he's injured, I mean, obviously, I think you're always going to do what you have to do to protect to protect yourself. And if you're injured or something along those lines, but also if you're injured, that's why they have an injury report in the NFL. Like, I want to be real about it. It's like the injury report is supposed to be for guys who to be listed. Honestly, it's for betting purposes, just to be real about it.
Yeah.
It's for gambling purposes because if the NFL wasn't involved in gambling, then the injury report would not be very
Excuse me, sir.
uh,
Gaming is the correct.
sure. Um, but the gist of it being is it's supposed to be if you're limited in practice or you're unable to, or you're limited in a game situation where your availability is in question, that you're listed on the injury report. Brian Thomas wasn't listed on the injury report throughout the off season. Like, obviously, in the off season, he didn't have to be, and in the early portions of the season, he wasn't listed on the injury report until it became public knowledge via the coach saying that he had a wrist issue that they were working through. But there's been rumors swirling everywhere as far as if there's an injury or not. I can't speak on that. I don't know that. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if he has an injury or not. He could be playing through something. A lot of guys have ailments. Every season we see that all the time.
Right.
But if it's not limiting him enough to not be in practice, then all you can do is judge the tape until you find out otherwise. So yes, it's possible that he is limited or that he is in dealing with an injury and playing through an injury. But if it's impacting you to a level where it's looking like you're only able to give 70%, 75% of what your normal output is, then maybe you need to sit down and get it taken care of, or unless it's something that you just you don't want to end your season. And I get that also, but it's a rough situation. But guys are going to judge the tape. If you're on the field, they're going to judge it like you're 100%.
And no, and then that's how it works, because at the end of the day, if you're not taken seriously by your team or the defense, they could pay for it if they don't treat you the correct way. I get that too. I think another element too, I remember a lot throughout the year last year, Travis, you and I would talk about the different ways you can line up BTJ. It didn't just have to be on the outside. You could put him in the slot. You can do different versatile things. Now, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe. I'll put it this way. It's hard for me to believe that the Doug Peterson offense is less versatile than Liam Coen's offense, to have him line Brian Thomas Jr. up more in the slot to account for whatever injury issues he might be dealing with. It could be put him in a position to kind of have that play, especially if you're going to move Travis Hunter potentially out, to do more stuff in the quote number one spot. I'm wondering if that's another option. I don't hear anybody talking about that.
Well, because Travis Hunter only knows one position, or at least earlier in the season, that he was only introduced to one position, being the slot, the F. They only wanted him playing that one role throughout 2025 to not overload him within the offense, because it's such a complex offense, and he also missed multiple weeks of training camp towards the end due to injury. So that just limited his learning curve.
And we're
his
back to the
ability to learn.
development conversation too we had previously with Travis on Friday, that they're trying to, incrementally bring him in. I get that too. I don't want
Right.
to cheapen that.
Right. So it's not. It's
Oh,
the
sorry.
fact of the matter is, this is the engine of the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. That was the statement that was made earlier in the offseason. So when you're leaning on your guy, your top receiver in the NFL, to be the guy, and he's not, you have the best Ferrari ever with a struggling engine. And you got to try to figure out a way to make this work out. And you could depend on everything else. You could depend on the seat covers and the dashboard and everything else, but it ain't gonna be an engine, because that's not what it was built to be. Like, you could try to make it happen, and you could try to duct tape this thing together, but that's what they're going through right now, trying to figure out how to make this offense work when the guy who you thought was going to be your guy is not playing to the level of being that dude. And I don't know how you kind of resolve that, because, like, we you and I, Nash, like, we talked about this. BTJ has not played to the level of what anywhere close to what you need from him. Like Dan Griffith said it on the socials, Jaguars ranked 32nd at converting catchable targets into catches. Specifically, Brian Thomas Jr. ranks 83rd out of 83rd receivers, with 64.3% of his catchable targets being caught.
And
He's
for context, further in that thread, I think Travis
Mhm.
Hunter is like 46th or something like that.
And he's 194th out of 199 receivers in yards after the catch over expectation. Like, it's not good. It's actually very, very bad.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know what catch by over expectation means here. Listen, my
it's
data professional hat's going to jump in. Expectation, if that's really what they're calling it, is a stupid name because expectation is subjective as hell. But I digress.
it's absolutely subjective, but the reason for it is you're charting. You're
Yeah,
physically looking at the film and saying, "Hey, this ball hit you in the chest. Hey, this ball hit you in the hands. It should have been caught." This is you dropped so many passes. I believe his drops were at 5 or 6 on the season. You add those, you add the ones when he's sticking out his hand but it should have probably like actually been able to catch the ball. So receiver errors, you have the back shoulder phase where he's just not looking at the quarterback. You add all those things in, and you can see, all
miscommunications.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you can see, all right, yeah, that's probably realistic. Like when you're saying all the objective stats from multiple different places, and there's a lot of places to get it from, all seem to generally be lining up saying the same thing. He's not playing well, and I don't think that's an over exaggeration to say.
I agree.
Um, yeah, and then you also mentioned Doug Peterson's offense in 2024, and I actually had this conversation with Matt Harmon, and we were just talking back and forth just about what it is, and he was like, look at my 2024 charts, and talking about Doug Peterson's offense and everything else, and how Brian Thomas was previously used, and that's what we did, like reception perception. They had the charts out, and they didn't run very many slants. They didn't run a lot of posts. They didn't even run Brian Thomas on a lot of the straight go routes. And with Trevor Lawrence only playing half of the season, also, that also means that Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence on some of these routes won't even have a lot of that camaraderie. They won't have they won't even be as much in sync on that, because a lot of his success in the 2024 season came with Mac Jones at quarterback, hitting him in the chest on those big routes, hitting him on the chest on those screens, etc. And those are some of the same routes that Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. are still trying to get acclimated to, being on the same page, and not to mention they didn't run him a lot.
Mhm.
Doug
No,
Peterson's offense didn't run a lot of in breaking routes.
yeah.
So all those things combined, it's like, all right, cool. I can see why the struggles are happening, because this is not something that he's acclimated to doing very often. Uh, and then that's before we even talk about the effort plays or the drops and things of that nature, because like we have Brian Thomas Jr. in the run game where Travis Etienne has an opportunity to have an explosive play, and he blocks nobody. Like Brian Thomas just doesn't block the outside corner, doesn't block the
He
safety,
runs right past a dude. Yeah,
doesn't get
pathetic.
a hand on anyone. When Travis Hunter has maybe an opportunity to actually, make it true explosive. And then he has, again, we talked about the 2 drops in the game. One of the big ones, 2nd and 7, get you inside of the 5-yard line. He drops that high pointed ball.
Mhm.
It's
Which is
not
supposed to be a specialty, by the way, to get those high pointers.
the high point contested catches. Those are his balls. Like those are his plays, especially those ISO routes down the sideline. And if you're not able to have these, then again, you're almost being forced to then have Travis Hunter have a much bigger role in your offense, just because you need to have a real number one. And Brian Thomas hasn't been it right now, and that's the unfortunate part of where the Jaguars kind of land right now.
So yeah, I mean the long of the short is, how do you get him back to form? I guess at this point it's kind of rethink fundamentals. That might be an element of it. I'll put it that way.
I don't
Which
know that you get him back. I don't know how you get him back to form, because they've already tried to do some of the stuff that was key in this Doug Peterson offense. Like we showed you guys the chart. Like they've gone back to running a lot more of those Calvin Ridley speed outs and just taking what defenses give them. Like so, and a lot of those, I guess we'll call them more static routes, straight comebacks and straight curls on the outsides. Basically all the routes outside of the hashes. They've gone back to that thing that Doug Peterson, there were staples in Doug Peterson's system, to maybe help BTJ get more involved in the offense and get more acclimated to things that he was successful doing in 2024. But this offense, this Liam Coen offense, is predicated and built on option routes and going into the inside of the hashes in the middle of the field. You can't be an NFL number one receiver without going inside of the hashes. Like it's got to be part of it if he's going to survive as a number one receiver and be looked upon that as his peers in the NFL. So how do you get him back to that? I don't know that he necessarily was ever that when you say back to it. Because what they're asking him to do right now is something that he hadn't done previously. You want him to be what he was in 2024 in a different offense that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. Just keep sending them deep, I guess. Like he can take on the De'Ami Brown role at that point.
Then that's where the fundamentals thing comes from. And the correct answer is, how do you get 2024 production out of him? Wait till 2026. Anyway.
I mean, maybe.
So with all that in mind, speaking of waiting till 2026, some people may have thought you would wait until 2026 to see Wyatt Milam at offensive guard. Not this particular cat, Justin Balls on ya. Sure. It says on Twitter.
That's on Reddit.
Reddit, excuse me. I should have known that fits the name there too. Does anybody know if Wyatt Milam has taken any reps at right guard or what realistic change at right guard is? Macari has been absolute, using a scientific term, absolute cheeks in the last 2 games. I mean, if a quarterback of an NFL franchise can say on a mic, "we ass," I guess somebody in Reddit can say that a dude's been cheeks. That's fine.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
You know, it's all good. But that being said, shouts to the Tennessee Titans. Am I right? There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Shouts to Ben Troop, actually. I mean that wholeheartedly. What's the realistic option at right guard? So here's where it gets tricky, Travis. Patrick Macari is underperforming what I thought I'd see. I don't have a good answer, right? I mean, what do you do? Pull Walker Little over from left tackle at right guard? Have Wyatt Milam go there? I don't know. I don't know. Go ahead.
I mean, Milam played well. He did play really, really dang well in the preseason. He played before his injury. He played really well in the offseason before his injury. So, yeah, Milam at guard is promising. Like, we don't know if he's going to play incredible or not because, again, you haven't seen him. We haven't had the opportunity to see much of him other than in preseason and in training camp. So you're hoping that what you saw, that promise that you saw in the early offseason, the early portions of the offseason is going to materialize when the lights are on in the real games against the real top tier competition. But to your point, Patrick Macari hasn't been playing well in that. Yes, he has been dealing with injuries. Yes, so much of the offensive line has been dealing with injury that they're not looking great. And Coach Coen did say he wants the top 11 guys to get to play. And that could result in someone like a Wyatt Milam playing a little bit more. That could also result in guys like BJ Green and Danny Strigo and all of these other rookies maybe getting a few more snaps than you otherwise might not have expected after this bye week. So
I agree with you. Yeah.
So that's absolutely possible. I mean, even above and beyond guys like Travis Hunter playing even more snaps and stuff like that. Like you just may see those guys lean into playing more of the rookies because they always claim to be open to it, always claim to be the guys who are all in on competition. And in a lot of ways, they've shown it. All right, well, this is your opportunity. They're not playing great right now.
Setting the bar nice and high, right? If you're playing better than Cheeks, then you're giving the Duval Devout something to clap about. I get that. That's something that's very important. Jesus. What did I say, Travis? What was
that was good. That was very good. Something to clap about. Cheeks. All right. That was a good one. Congratulations, sir.
What's the next question, buddy? That's how you get out of a question. Let me read this.
Jordan Roberts, 82070 on X says, "Hey man, I remember Travis saying he can tell if a new offense will click by what they show in year one. And I would like an update on his assessment of Coen's offense and if it's good. Just really get the nuance of what he's seen so far and if he thinks it can be successful."
Year one. By the way, let's do a quick reality check. The Jags record is what? 4-3?
4-3.
So, and even after the bye week, it's not even halfway through the season yet. He said year one, not half year. Like this is still year zero, bro. What are we doing?
Right.
Come on, Jordan.
If you were to ask me at the bye week, was a Doug Peterson offense in 2022 going to work? I would have been like, of course not. Look at this. This is not sustainable. And it looked really well towards the end of the season in an unsustainable way, but it did. At least I'll acknowledge that. I will acknowledge that.
It
But my
looked
point,
better
like
in
even yeah,
unsustainable.
but even Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers in that 2020, I believe 2023 season, for Matt LaFleur's offense, they didn't look good before the bye. They looked great after the bye, after they made their adjustments and figured out what it was going to be. Like so in asking this question at the bye week for the Jacksonville Jaguars organization in a new offense with a quarterback coming off of a surgery where they're not even able to, get the fundamentals right earlier on the season, feels a little early to even ask the question. But also, like, I understand it's just hard to give a
Right.
real assessment on where they are without knowing what counters they're going to make, what adjustments they're going to make at the bye, and if they're going to kind of rectify some of those issues that we see there, kind of like fire alarms that's going off.
I mean, and that's a great point. Like Jordan, I make jokes about it being year zero to regards to your question, but I like the bye week and how things come by. By the way, another important element, little opportunity for some cats to get healthy too. By the way,
Hmm.
if you believe BTJ is injured, is opportunity for him to heal up a little bit. Any line issues, maybe perhaps they get a little bit less banged up. Who knows?
That's
Maybe
a big
Patrick
one.
McCarry plays better. I don't know, but
That's a huge one. But no, my question as it stands is less about the offensive scheme and more about whether or not the quarterback is going to be able to run the offensive scheme. And we have a whole episode that's surrounding Trevor Lawrence. So I want to be clear in talking about that. But the issues with the Jacksonville Jaguars offense, Brett Coleman, shout out Bootleg Football, had a series of tweets on X, basically talking about the Jaguars offense and how the problems within the offense or the inconsistencies in the offense have always been there all season. They've just kind of been masked and covered by the turnovers. He stated that the Jaguars are 29th in scoring percentage out of 32 teams. So when you get an extra 3 possessions per game, it kind of helps cover up the horrible efficiency on offense. Like we only score on 25.8% of the drives that don't start on turnovers. Meanwhile, the Colts, which are a great running team, I will say that, are at
Jonathan Taylor.
58.1% with 25 such scoring drives. The Chiefs are at 53%, Cowboys at 48, Packers at 47. So like the Jaguars are truly down. I mean, you're talking nearly half of those, the scoring drives than those teams have, as far as the rating is concerned. That's obviously not great when you're seeing the Jaguars turnovers dry up with Devin Lloyd be hurt. So that you're seeing more of those offensive struggles because they're not getting those turnovers. They're not driving and staying efficient within the passing game. And the running game kind of disappeared also in the past 2 weeks. Well, 3 weeks, really, if you don't count Trevor Lawrence's rushing yards. Yeah, so that makes it very difficult to have an efficient offense. And again, we'll have a whole conversation surrounding Trevor Lawrence's um, part of that, passing game inefficiencies. Because it's a receiver conversation, it's a Trevor Lawrence conversation, and then the offensive line has their own issues also. So maybe them getting healthy is going to be very beneficial. So I don't have an answer on what this Jacksonville Jaguars offense truly is going to be yet, because I don't know that they've actually answered that question on the film themselves. And if they don't by the end of the season, then I'll have an answer. And I think it'll be very clear because it's not looking good right now.
You heard someone say it. If they fix the leaks, they'll stop being cheeks. There you go.
I mean, I didn't say it in those verbs, but I like it. Cool.
That's from the hip, son.
Wow. Fix the leaks, stop being cheeks. All right, cool. Put it on a shirt.
Oh my
So man, if
You're
you are
already in trouble at home for having too many graphic tees, bro. Come on now. Anyway,
that's fair. No, man, but you can find my writing company, Jacksonville Jaguars, BigCatCountry.com. If you are listening to us on the Duval Dive YouTube, please just go a little to your left, click that subscribe button, click the like button, help us out with the algorithm. We definitely appreciate you guys. Again, this podcast would not exist without your support. I swear to you. I mean, just the fact of the matter is, like, these mailbag podcasts, we get multiple podcasts out of it because you guys just destroy us with the amount of comments that you kind of put in there, like real comments, like ball knowing comments, not just garbage, where we have to throw out like half of it. And as this thing keeps growing with guys who actually know ball or actually like really want to learn about the
Except for
sport.
Jason Trent, we throw that out every time. I'm kidding, Jason.
Man,
I'm kidding.
we love Jaguars United, but yeah, that. Hey man, that boy hate Trevor. He does so much, and it's so funny though. But I understand it, bro. No man, but yeah, bigcatcountry.com, Travis D. Holmes on all the socials. And if you're again listening, like and subscribe to Duval Dive on YouTube. Comment if you can help us out with that algorithm, and rate and review us wherever you catch the podcast version, man. But again, we always appreciate you guys giving us that engagement, giving us your time, and most importantly, giving us that Duval. Let them know where you can be found, Nash.
Hey now. And I mean, when I'm awkward, I also give him that Duval. Anyways, of course, I'm Kyle. What? Is it too soon? Is it too soon to do the Liam Coen thing? Come on.
It's gross. But if you win, everybody loves it. Like, oh.
Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings with the Black and Gold Banneret and the Night Shift podcast for all things UCF football and basketball, as well as my work covering the Chargers. Okay, well, I'm a producer for a show anyway. The Bolt Blitz Uncut, Booga Peters, 80 Simons, Robert Gibson, aka Buck D, all in that building too. So that's a good time there. So yeah, make sure you check all that out. This was another grab bag episode. There'll be more coming. You guys gave us a lot, like Travis said. We're grateful for it, man. You wanted to get through the bye week. You gave us the ammunition to fight back the burden of your team being on a bye to do just that. So for all you Duval divers out there, thank you very much. For my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, is Kyle Nash, student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.